at the moment, in the news cycle, Donald Trump is ranting about the amount of money, the huge amount of money that U.S. has provided to Ukraine to defend in their war against Russia. And I think the internet pegs it at around $69 billion, but since the war started. But there's something that hasn't been said here, and I haven't heard it said by anybody yet. So I wanted to share that thought, which is, where did the money go? Where did the money actually go, the $69 billion? Like, no country has sent suitcases or plane loads of bills, dollar bills or pounds or anything, to Ukraine. What they have sent is equipment. So, you know, let's just talk about a missile, for example, a Patriot missile or any kind of missile that's used in defense. Let's say it cost $1 million. That's a fair number for garden variety anti-ship missile, let's say. So why does it cost $1 million? And the answer is labor. It's labor. A missile or a tank or a mortar or whatever has, you know, parts to it. But if you look at the cost of the raw materials, the steel, copper, titanium, aluminum, gold, silver, platinum, silicon, you know, plastics and so forth that make up, for example, a missile, an anti-missile missile. Well, those things are very inexpensive. I talked to my expert, John Cameron, about explosives, and I said, well, John, how much would you expect the raw materials for a 500 pound or even 500 kilogram warhead to cost? And if it was made of RDX or PETN or cyclite or whatever, he said, no, these things are cheap. You know, a couple $100 probably for $1 million missile. And the same thing for the Seeker and so forth. Like, the reason these things are expensive is because they have to be assembled by workers on an assembly line, just like televisions are. But somebody has to put it together, test it, qualify it, calibrate it, do quality tests and so forth, and the whole thing has to be put together and tested as a weapon system. And then it can be sold. But so all of the value, all of the cost of the missile, almost all of it, is labor. It's people. I'd be surprised in $1 million missile if the raw materials cost $10,000. Maybe it's closer to $3. So that means that all of the $69 billion, almost all of it stays in the country. It's in the bank accounts of the employees of the companies that build the weapons, whether it's, you know, Raytheon or General Dynamics or Northrop Grumman or Lockheed Martin or any other large defense contractors. And if you mine the steel in your own country, then you didn't even have to buy the steel from somebody else. Now, there are some parts, without a doubt, that you don't that if they aren't manufactured by, let's say, U.S. hands, then you do have to buy them from maybe chips from China or from Germany or France, or sub-assemblies from Canada, or cameras from Japan. That money genuinely leaves the country, like the country that is providing the weapon. You generally had to go basically like going to somebody else's Walmart and buying parts that you then assemble. But the rest of it is assembled in country, and that is where it's the quality management and so forth that's where all the cost comes from. So did you give $69 billion to Ukraine? Well, kind of, but not exactly. Like, 68.9 billion stayed in the US. It gave people jobs. They put their kids through school, they went to basketball games, they bought cars. So it's not really correct to say, well, we gave you $69 billion. I'm reminded of a really interesting story. This was when the light bulb came on for me. My brother told me this story about, no, it was 1998 or something. It was a JPL probe that was sent to Mars. It was Mars Global Observer or Climate Observer or something. And anyway, this thing was dispatched off after a 10-month cruise. This is to illustrate the point about economics and the flow of money. So the thing, 10-month cruise, arrives at Mars, and they lost contact with it at orbital insertion. They got not a single bit of data came back, not one byte. It's a big investigation. That might have been the one where the subcontractor confused kilometers with miles. I can't recall. Anyway, this is the story that was told to me. I'm not done the internet research on this. I just want to say something about it. So anyway, boy, and the probe cost $1.2 billion. Billion dollars. So Congress is furious. All that money spent, we didn't get anything back from it, and NASA is all clenched up, like they're going to have their budget cut. So what do we do? They asked an Apollo astronaut to come in and speak to Congress, and he did. I don't know which one it was. And here's what he said, as told to me. He said, "Okay, space probe to Mars, $1.2 billion. Didn't get anything back. In fact, the investigation showed that it did. Mars Global Observer is observing Mars. It hit the planet, so it's never coming back." So he said, terrible loss. It's very tragic. But he said, you have to realize there wasn't a little safe on board the spacecraft. We didn't tuck $1.2 billion in the spacecraft. There isn't 1.2. There isn't a bunch of dollar bills blowing around on Mars if we could just get up there and collect them. The money is still here. We paid people to build them. There's about $50,000 worth of gold and precious metals and platinum and titanium and steel and aluminum that's scattered on Mars, and we can't get that back. But it's not $1.2 billion. We paid people. As I said before, they bought cars, they put their kids through school, they went to movies, and they bought food. They put chickens and beef and wheat. They bought bread. So that's where the money went, and it's still here. And we got smarter. We could build another one. So that just little story illustrated to me the meaning of money. Like, the money is still here. And we just spent it on people, and they produced something. So anyway, I don't hear that being said in the context of amount of money that has been spent to defend Ukraine against the war criminal Putin. But I wanted to share that.